A Supreme Court appoints an outside judge to preside over former Sheriff Susan Hutson case in criminal court. We're told the retired judge Dennis Waldron will act as a temporary judge as of right now. Judicial Administrator Rob Kasich says that all of the Orleans criminal court judges recused themselves from the case. In a letter to the Supreme Court, the judges say at least one of them is a witness in this matter as a member of the court's bench. Hutson faces 30 criminal charges related to last year's jail escape and the aftermath.